Nazareth barely appears on ancient maps, and that detail says more than it seems. Located in the region of Galilee, far from the most important trade routes, the village occupied a discreet hillside between rocky hills and dirt paths. It was not a walled city, nor an administrative center, nor a strategic point for armies or rulers. While Sepphoris, just a few kilometers away, displayed Roman architecture and intense political activity, and Jerusalem concentrated religious power and symbolism, Nazareth remained small, quiet, and peripheral. This difference was not only geographic, but symbolic. For the great empires of the time, places like Nazareth were not worth attention. Roman records mention cities, taxes, conflicts, and public works, but villages of this size were rarely noted. The curiosity lies precisely there. Nazareth existed on the margins of written history, sustained by the daily lives of its inhabitants, invisible to the eyes of power, yet deeply real to those who walked its narrow streets. This anonymity shaped how the place was perceived and how its people saw themselves in the ancient world. It is surprising to think that such a small place could pass almost unnoticed by an entire empire. Archaeological estimates indicate that Nazareth housed only a few hundred people, perhaps between 200 and 400, distributed among close-knit family groups. For the Romans, this did not justify garrisons, construction projects, or direct control. The village did not produce large-scale wealth, did not concentrate significant taxes, and posed no political threat. Living outside the center of power meant being distant from both opportunities and imperial pressures. This distance created a particular mindset. The inhabitants learned to rely more on the community than on authorities, more on the rhythm of the land than on decisions made by distant rulers. The constant absence of the Roman gaze allowed life to follow older patterns, preserving customs and local relationships. A rarely mentioned curiosity is that this invisibility also offered a form of quiet freedom. Far from the great cities, Nazareth existed almost as a world of its own, where history was not written in decrees, but in repeated gestures, daily labor, and enduring human bonds. The houses of Nazareth silently revealed the harshness of everyday life. Built with local stone, clay, and simple wood, they were low structures with few openings to the outside. Thick walls protected against intense heat during the day and damp cold at night, but also kept the interiors dark. Often, people and animals shared the same space, separated only by changes in floor level or small internal divisions. There was no privacy, as we understand it today, nor constant comfort. The floor was packed earth or uneven stone, and fire served both cooking and heating purposes. A less noticed curiosity is that the darkness of these houses was not neglect, but strategy. Fewer openings meant greater security and better thermal control. Light entered in a limited way, forcing residents to adjust their routines to the sun. Life inside these houses taught endurance, adaptation, and intense coexistence, shaping bodies and relationships in a space where everything was shared. The day in Nazareth began before the sun fully appeared on the horizon. Without electricity, without precise clocks, time was measured by light, sounds, and the needs of the body. At dawn, the village awakened with footsteps, low voices, and the lighting of the first fires. Fetching water, preparing simple food, and beginning work were tasks that could not wait. The rhythm was continuous, but not rushed. The heat of midday imposed natural pauses, while late afternoon signaled the time to return home. When night arrived, silence grew deeper. Without public lighting, darkness outside the houses was complete. A striking curiosity is that night awakened real fear. Animals, falls, and unwanted encounters made people retreat early. Rest was not a choice, but a consequence of the absence of light, turning the night into a space of withdrawal and caution. Working in Nazareth was synonymous with survival. The local economy revolved around family farming, the cultivation of grains, olive trees, and small gardens, as well as manual trades necessary to the community itself. Building, repairing, carving, and adapting materials were part of daily life. Proximity to larger cities allowed occasional exchanges, but did not guarantee constant prosperity. A curious detail is the meaning of the term tekton, used for artisans of the time. It did not indicate only a carpenter, but someone capable of working with wood, stone, and various tools. It was a versatile trade, required in simple villages where nothing could be wasted. This kind of work taught precision, patience, and physical strength. Each object produced carried hours of manual effort. In Nazareth, the value of work was not in accumulated wealth, but in the ability to keep life functioning day after day. If you have made it this far, subscribe to the channel and share in the comments which detail of this ancient daily life caught your attention the most. Few things reveal as much about a village as what it places on the table. In Nazareth, food was simple, repetitive, and deeply connected to what the land provided. Bread was the center of almost every meal, prepared daily from grains ground by hand. Olive oil and wine appeared in small quantities, used carefully, while vegetables, herbs, and seasonal fruits completed sustenance. Meat was rare, reserved for special occasions, religious festivals, or exceptional moments. An often overlooked curiosity is that eating was not an individual act. Meals took place in groups, strengthening bonds and ensuring that no one was completely abandoned. Sharing food was also sharing survival. The simple flavor carried social meaning, teaching from an early age that living in community was not a choice, but a necessity. In Nazareth, each meal was a silent reminder of life's fragility and the importance of one another. Faith in Nazareth was not separate from routine, it blended into every gesture of the day. The synagogue functioned as a meeting point, a space for teaching, debate, and coexistence. There, the scriptures were heard, memorized, and discussed, forming the moral foundation of the village. Prayers marked time, accompanying sunrise and sunset, integrated into work and rest. A revealing curiosity is that faith was not lived as a weekly event, but as a continuous identity. To be part of that people meant carrying traditions in the body, in speech, and in daily decisions. Spirituality shaped how suffering, hope, and the future were faced. In a small place, invisible to empires, faith offered belonging and meaning, connecting each simple life to a story far greater than the village itself. In such a small community, almost nothing went unnoticed. Family structure was the center of social life, and reputation carried real weight. Honor and shame were not abstract concepts, but forces that defined relationships, opportunities, and destinies. Marriages involved entire families, agreements, and collective expectations. Every public action could strengthen or compromise the name of a whole group. A rarely discussed curiosity is that the opinion of the village functioned as constant judgment. There was no anonymity. Living in Nazareth meant being known, observed, and remembered. This social pressure shaped behavior, encouraging conformity, but also mutual responsibility. Life followed unwritten rules, sustained by collective memory. In a place where everyone knew each other, belonging was as vital as working or eating. Growing up in Nazareth meant assuming responsibilities far earlier than modern standards would suggest. Childhood, as we understand it today, barely existed. From a young age, boys and girls learned by observing and helping. Work was part of formation, not as punishment, but as preparation for adult life. Carrying water, caring for animals, and assisting in manual tasks were routine. A striking curiosity is how this environment shaped character and resilience. Constant coexistence with limits, physical effort, and cooperation created adults attentive to the collective and aware of the value of work. Learning came more from practice than from explanations. In Nazareth, growing up meant quickly integrating into the rhythm of the village, understanding that each person had an essential role in the survival of all. It is difficult to imagine that such a simple place could become central to the history of the world. Nazareth had no political power, no wealth, and no prominence in official records. Yet its name crossed centuries. The contrast between anonymity and impact is what makes this village so significant. The final curiosity lies precisely in this. Great transformations do not always arise in centers of power. Sometimes they emerge on forgotten hillsides, among stone houses, quiet routines, and ordinary lives. Nazareth reminds us that the ordinary can carry the extraordinary, and that small origins can generate profound consequences. Looking at this simple past, it is impossible not to reflect on how many important stories continue to be born far from the spotlight, shaping the future in silence. If this journey through Nazareth sparked new questions or reflections, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment sharing what most caught your attention in this reconstruction of the past.